Alrighty, thank you very much for joining us, this afternoon. We are excited to give you a preview. This is our first Equity and Engagement Roundtable. This is our agenda. So want to welcome you to this Equity and Engagement Roundtable. Essentially, our purpose for coming together with you is to, on a periodic basis, update you on things that you can expect to hear from us, whether they're things that are already in motion. Most of what you're going to hear is public already. There are a couple of preview items that you will hear about, but the point is this is an exchange. We are hoping to have a very conversational sort of style, and yes, there are presentations, but we welcome you to use the chat and ask questions. We'll make sure that, if you raise your hand, that you get acknowledged. Want you to understand that as an exchange, we are looking for feedback, and some of the feedback is related to how some of these decisions will affect you or the groups that you represent. But there's also the aspect of there's some things you're going to hear about that haven't quite, they're not quite baked. And so some of those things we will be looking for you to give us input on how to finish shaping some of the things that we have. And we just want it clear that this is all about an exchange. We definitely have a prepared agenda, and at the end, definitely want to leave space to talk about how we do this in the future and what you think might be the best way to do it at this point, thinking it's quarterly and thinking virtually near board meetings, but very, very open. So you can see the agenda in front of us. I am joined in the room by several chiefs. The first being Tom McCone, our Chief Administrative Officer, and then he's going to talk about hiring. And then we're going to pivot to Molly Poppy, our Chief Planning and Innovation Officer. She's going to give you an overview of the new department as well as a quick service overview. We'll move to our Chief of Infrastructure, Bill Mooney, who is going to give you an overview of capital projects. I will jump back in with a legislative affairs update. Then we will go back to Tom McCone, who will talk about harm reduction initiatives as well as a public scorecard update. And then we'll have opportunity for final questions. And again, thinking of this as interactive. So I will be working the chat if there are things that you want to say in there, but otherwise I'll turn it over to Tom.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Let me just do a quick check. Can you hear me okay and see the slide that is being displayed?
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. So single slide on kind of where we are with hiring and workforce. I know there's a lot of information that we could talk about, but I want to sort of hit it here at the high level. We hired 2,244 employees last year, which is astounding. This is a 92% increase over where we would have been pre-pandemic in terms of our hiring rate. Of those 2,244, 1,004 of them were bus operators. That picture on the right is a picture of one of the monthly graduations that we had for our operating employees, and those are bus operators who are graduating from our training program and either in service or getting ready to go into service. We also hired 100 bus mechanics, so it wasn't just the front of the house operating position, but it was the support positions as well. So 100 bus mechanics, which is about double what we might normally do in a year. In addition, we hired a number of additional janitors and other support functions as well. We hired 159 rail flaggers. Those are the positions, it's the entry-level position to becoming a rail operator. And then importantly, we hired 328 people into our Second Chance program. They're in the program now. The majority of them are hopefully successfully completing it and then getting an opportunity to get permanent employment here at CTA or with another organization. But really remarkable numbers kind of across the board in terms of the hiring results that we saw this past year. That's as a result, we had 12 hiring events that we hosted ourselves. The pictures on the bottom are from those hiring events, both at our headquarters, but then at locations throughout the city. So we were at Olive Harvey, we were at Malcolm X, we were at Truman College, as part of our job, part of our hosted hiring events and part of our outreach. The total workforce now stands at almost 10,500, and that's a 7.4% increase in the past 12 months. So we're well on track to rebuilding that workforce, as we've talked about for a long time, as we laid out in Meeting the Moment, and the results from 2023 should show that. So that's my brief overview of hiring. We can continue going from here, take questions later as they come up as well.
And you can also use the chat. Alrighty, we will move to our next chief.
Hi guys, Molly Poppy, your Chief Planning and Innovation Officer. You guys probably all knew me previously as just the Chief Innovation Officer. At the start of this year, I took over the planning department and we combined planning and innovation into one department, which I think, to use the overused consulting term, we thought there was a lot of synergy between planning and innovation. So we combined those into one, and I think we've created a really strong and unique department in the sense of the work that we're doing and the holistic sort of approach we're going to be taking to rider experience. And you know, I am still relatively new to the planning role. I guess I've been at CTA almost 5 years, but I'm still new to the planning role, and so rather than do a deep dive into all the things of planning that we're working on and sort of going in major detail, I wanted to at least give everyone an overview of what we are trying to do this year in 2024, because I think that's really important. And I think it really hits on a host of different initiatives that I've talked with many of you on this call about, that I work with a lot of the chiefs in this room on. So first and foremost, you know, Tom talked about our hiring and what we are achieving with our hiring schedule. The plan right now for 2024 is we will return all of our scheduled service to pre-pandemic levels. That is for both bus and rail. We are currently finalizing our upcoming spring pick for both bus and rail. And we will be presenting that, having conversations with our union partners here in the next week or so. And then we will start presenting that to the board as well. So as we continue to move forward, actually be prepared for the March board. We'll roll this out in more detail, but truly the plan is to add all scheduled service back to pre-pandemic levels and improve our frequency to what we had in 2019. The next piece is about modernizing our fare system. You know, we had some hiccups last week, which I'm sure everyone is very familiar with, and I am intimately aware of many of the challenges that we've had around the mobile app, but we are in a good place with that now. And the focus for 2024 with my team is to modernize the fare system. So you guys may have heard some conversations that we've had about Venture 3, you probably heard that sort of batted about. We are modernizing the entire back end of the fare collection system for CTA. That will eventually include some improvements to the readers and the TDMs. And then additionally, we continue to work on fare integration both across transit authorities, and we're in active conversations with other mobility providers as well around fare integration. We've heard a lot from our riders and actually had a lot of conversations with folks at the county, Cook County and elsewhere around fare integration. And so we want to make sure that we continue to engage on that conversation and work to lead that integration across the system. I just continue to stress, and many of you probably have heard this, I got to modernize the fare system before I can truly do full integration. And so that's why modernize the fare system is listed first, but fare integration is still something that we are working towards and eager to partner with RTA, Metro, Pace, County, and others. When I talk about bringing organization enhancements to key customer tools, what I'm really talking about is bus and train tracker. We continue to work on bus and train tracker, continue to work to improve that. I've talked with some of you about our plans to transition to a GTFS RT feed for bus and rail, which I think will be really critical to get us on the standard around transit, but then we're also working on some other improvements on the back end to further improve our communications around train delays or bus delays, and then also looking at digital signage as well to try to improve the digital signage. And this is something that I'm working on with Brian Steele's team and the IT team. This is really a whole host of folks that are working on that. The next one, this is a kind of a more internally facing item, but something that I think you all will appreciate. Something that we want to continue to improve on this year in our department is around the data tools and the software tools that we have to support both developing schedules, as well as how do we continue to make sure that we've got the most available data and the best available data to make decisions. So a lot of what we're talking about here is expanding beyond our existing ridership data and some of our existing data tools, looking for new data tools to help support decision making, and also looking to enhance some of our back-end software systems that we use to build our schedules so we can be more efficient and a little bit more agile there. The next one I have dubbed 2024 the year of bus and Blue Line. There's kind of a parentheses after that. That's Congress branch with an extra special focus. Really, that doesn't mean that we're never going to talk about or think about any of the other rail lines, but bus, we have a lot of really exciting projects that we're working on with CDOT around better streets for bus. We'll have the bus vision study that will be posted this quarter, and we'll start engagement and outreach around bus vision here this spring and summer. And so what I really wanted the team to focus on and think about is how do we improve the bus experience and look at how do we improve and get more sort of bus infrastructure on the street, if you will. And then Blue Line, we had a lot of great work from Bill's group on the Congress branch last year between IMD and UIC. And so what we really want to do is continue to build on that work and continue to look for opportunities to continue to improve the Blue Line, and also look especially at the O'Hare branch. We have a lot of ridership growth on the O'Hare branch. We also see a lot of crowding on the O'Hare branch. So as we think about the Blue Line, we're looking at it as a holistic line, but also looking at it from the two branches as well, as making sure we're looking at what does the O'Hare branch need, what does the Congress branch need, and working closely with our friends in infrastructure and operations on that. And then, what I would say, this last one is a little bit of a forward-looking, the post-pandemic future is now. Really what I'm talking about is, we need to improve our service levels and get them back to pre-pandemic. Sorry, I'm reading Julia's comment. We are working on that. I do appreciate that. I would appreciate anyone else's support of getting the Johnson administration on board with bus, but we do have great partners at CDOT, and we have had some really active engagements with CDOT. We work very closely with them. And so I'm excited for this year. I think, this year of bus is not a year of bus that's going to go bust. I think it really is going to be a year. Okay, that was pretty good. Came up with that right on the spot. But it's something that we're pretty confident in that we can continue to support with our partners at CDOT and continue to work on bus infrastructure. And so the last one is really just about how do we continue to think about what the post-pandemic, quote unquote, new normal looks like, and making sure that as we continue to add service back, as we continue to prioritize modernizing the fare system and all of this other work that we're doing, making sure that we're thinking about it through the lens of what does the world look like today, not what did the world look like in 2019. So I think that's really important thing to focus on and how we think about that. How many miles of dedicated bus lanes will be built? So that is something we're in active conversations with CDOT about. We have 3 corridors that we're identifying as part of the Better Streets for Bus, that we have some funding from the county that we will look at. What is the type of infrastructure improvements that we need there? So I can't give you a specific mileage count right now, but I can let you know for Better Streets for Bus, we are prioritizing 3 corridors, and then we also have a host of corridors identified for BPC. Kate, we are working to identify those 3 corridors. I anticipate that we will hear an announcement very soon from my team. I just talked with them about it, and we're doing some final checks with CDOT, and also I think going back to a couple other folks to talk with them, and then we will be able to announce those 3 corridors. So there's one above Kate. Yes. So on the Congress branch, I'm going to phone a friend a little bit on this one and look over to my friend here, Bill Mooney. But you know, what I would say around the Congress branch is there's been constant conversations around how do we continue to invest in the Congress branch, and Bill's group really has been working on that effort of where else do we go and how do we continue to find funding for the Blue Line, because it is a funding conversation, right? It is how do we find the money to support the upgrades there. It's the will is there from our team. We really want to improve the Congress branch, and it is how do we find that money. So Bill,
I think for us, we are very actively working with our partners at CMAP, at IDOT on partnerships for granting opportunities, grant programs that we more traditionally wouldn't have access to without those partnerships, looking to leverage every federal dollar that's out there, try to bring it to the region, especially in this important border. We also are looking to secure even smaller pots of money so we can advance design on track projects before we can secure all the funding for construction, so they're more shovel ready when funding comes around, that we can peel off parts of those design packages and get pieces out as soon as possible. We went after 2 different granting programs in this grant season with the federal government. One is a joint partnership with IDOT on the mega program. We've done a similar partnership last year, which we weren't successful on. And we've got a separate program that we've been working with the county and city on that we're looking at as well for the federal government to see if we can carve off another piece of the border. But as Molly mentioned, it's really a game of finances right now. But we're looking to figure out how we can prioritize funding for this border and secure more of it to be able to do all the needs that we have.
I could spend probably an entire hour talking about what the bus vision covers. But at the highest level, you know, we are planning to have an engagement with the community start this spring and into the summer, where we start to ask conversations about what does the community want to see around bus. This is primarily focused on like network and service. Think about it less as a item around infrastructure. So, you know, bus vision is something that's of interest for folks. I can work with Denise and we can come back and have a conversation more explicitly about bus vision, because it really is, it's probably not even an hour conversation. It's like a 10-hour conversation, to be honest.
You know what, guys, we're gonna, I wanna make sure. There are 3 questions that we didn't get to.
Okay.
And
I'll
honestly,
look up it on Tom's screen.
yeah, we're gonna keep going and let Bill talk, and we're gonna capture these so that we can get them. Thanks.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Mooney, your Chief Infrastructure Officer. I'm responsible for our red purple modernization, our red line extension, our construction engineering and maintenance programs. And I have some of the kind of highlight capital projects to touch on this month. I go in detail about a lot of the things we're building monthly at the board meeting. There's a lot more slides that share great pictures on the progress of these projects as well. A lot more detail around them. You're welcome to check them out on YouTube and our website, and tune in live for the board meetings as well. Kind of 3 thematic things we wanted to touch on. The first one's at bottom right corner, if you're looking at the screen, is our CDOT Lake Line Damon Station. So this is a partnership we have with the Chicago Department of Transportation to bring a new station to the far west loop area at Damon on the Green Line. The project is an $80 million construction project that is in partnership again with the Chicago Department of Transportation, who's taking the lead on this. Their contractors, FX Passion, and this project is expected to come to conclusion with the station opening later this summer. Most of the major infrastructure components tied to it are significantly far along, as you can see kind of in there. The biggest kind of thing you'll see in the upcoming months is they'll be flying in the big pedestrian bridge. That's the 2 sides of that track. Be a really exciting weekend worth of work to watch. It's very, very interesting piece of work. The bridge is being built offsite and being trucked in and then brought in kind of on a big crane lift that weekend. It's a very architecturally significant station that will have a lot of glass and kind of fine features with it, as well as you know, a really nice piece of artwork by Mo Williams, who's going into the big mosaic. We're really excited to see this come on later this year. On the other kind of fronts here on the slides, we talk a little bit more on the programmatic, and I think there was a question specifically about the plans for Blue Line stations and renovation and modernization relationship to our all stations accessibility plan. So the upper left-hand corner photo gives you a rendering of our Austin Station, which is one of the original stations identified in the first phase of the all station accessibility program. We've successfully secured funding for 14 stations in that initial program, of which five are currently in construction. A 6th one is just starting construction. There's another one out for procurement for construction, and then the rest of them are moving into design phase. Services are currently in design. When we complete these 14 stations, will bring our accessibility up to 81%. Austin, which is what the rendering is of, is on the far west end of the Green Line. We also have funding secured for Oakland, Oak Park and Ridgeland, which will make, on their completion in 2028, will make the Green Line fully accessible at that point. It'll be a big milestone win for the city as a whole, and especially the surrounding suburbs we support on the west side of the Green Line. This is a keynote project for President Carter, and something that was part of his vision in laying out the all-station accessibility plan. But it was meant to be an active plan that was interactive, that regularly was refreshed. It was kind of never looked at a funding source or any criteria around a funding source. So when the federal government piloted their funding program around ASAP, we were able to secure funding for 3 stations in that first program. And as we're in the process of refreshing that plan, we're taking a lot of the criteria and that funding criteria that is in that program into weighting of the, and you'll see kind of a new kind of list of stations. So in phase 1 of the program is fully funded as was originally visioned. Kind of the repurposed phase 2, that's about 45% of the stations currently secured in funding. With additional stations we're going after in this year granting program for ASAP. On the upper right hand is our Red Purple Modernization Program. It's a $2.1 billion program to expand capacity on the red and purple lines, as well as renovate historical structures and improve the overall corridor. We talk about it really in 3 phases. Our red purple bypass, which is the area around Clark and Roscoe, where we have a major junction there that would tie up the lines as the brown line would cut across and go out to the branch. This was a complete rebuild of that corridor, with really the first phase being the flyover, which went into service in late 2019, early 2020. And then what we just cut over there was the second phase, which is what we really consider like that bridge under. We're rebuilding that historical structure and making those connections. Up further north there is our Lawrence to Bryn Mawr area, where we actually modernized 4 stations, Lawrence, Berwyn, Argyle, and Bryn Mawr, making them fully accessible as envisioned in our all stations accessibility program, and rebuilding the entire structure between Lawrence and about Thorndale, which is a pretty major component of the project. We transitioned to stage B this summer, which was putting the new structure into service that we're running on right now, some new temp stations, as well as we've now moved forward with an embankment wall removal up there, and we've started some community activation process on how we make that space available to the community post-project. And our last kind of highlight project for this month is really talking about the Red Line extension, which is our historic next phase project, our $3.6 billion program to extend the Red Line down to 130th Street. We'll include 4 new stations at 103rd, 111th Michigan, and 130th in historical Alcoa Gardens. It's a 5.6-mile line extension. We're really excited to see this move forward. We're currently in the procurement process for the major design build contract, which will do most of the heavy infrastructure work. And really the only other contract that comes after that is the new yard and shop we're going to be building at 120th Street, which is going out is in full design right now and will be awarded in 2025. So we're looking forward to award this major milestone project at the end of this year, secure all the federal funding we need to move forward with it, really see this become a reality after many, many years of waiting.
Okay. Didn't see anything in the.
Yeah, it is. Let's see if there are any new things came in.
I think it's really exciting to watch too. I think, yeah, if you look back at the history of substations, I'll bore everybody for a second with this. If you go back to the original kind of historical substations, they were gorgeous buildings. They were really dynamic, architectural pieces in neighborhoods. And some of them we've been able to rehab over the years and reuse. They're really significant pieces. Somewhere in the 70s and 80s, we went to a very holistic structure that became nondescript and kind of boring. These stations now are really dynamic architectural pieces that will enhance the neighborhoods they're in while providing a really impactful part of our life. But one of the major challenges for us adding capacity in kind of the pre-pandemic area, we're getting this electrical power there. So seeing them come on at the end of this year will really give us a jump to be able to expand that capacity as ridership comes back.
Awesome. So I will jump in with our legislative affairs update. I gave a full legislative update at the meeting in January, so please, you're welcome to fast forward to that. It's at the 9:49 moment in the meeting, but I will give you a brief overview of what I gave everyone last month. And essentially, it's fiscal cliff, fiscal cliff, fiscal cliff. That is literally the focus of our 2024-2025 CTA legislative agenda. As everyone has heard, and last week, some of you were in Springfield with members of our team, all of the RTA boards. Our chairman was there, where they were talking very, very pointedly about what we're all gonna be facing in early 2026. And I wanna also just say that there's some potential implications of this in 2025. If Tom's plans to aggressively hire the way that he wants to hire, which of course feeds into Molly's adding service, like if all the things go the way that we intend for them to go, that fiscal cliff is actually for us gonna pull into 2025, which means we're gonna have to start thinking about that and accounting for that in this budget season. Right now, we're going into the budget season for 2025. And as of right today, if things go the way they're going today, we think we can get all the way through December of 2025. But if things go the way we are projecting and want them to go, we are gonna be pulling into that fourth quarter. And so the sense that we have ample time for the General Assembly to identify the new revenue is really false. Another factor is the 2024 fall election. Many of you, what resources does you have for a bill to avoid? Yes, so right now, I was just about to tell you, first of all, our team, we have, where this team is finally fully staffed as of today. To what exactly we have been set out to be staffed at for at least a year and a half almost. So that's one, so we're fully staffed. The other thing is I want you to know is we have a full lobby team that consists of 6 firms, I believe. And we had 2 additions this year, one of which includes a former transportation committee member who helped the last time that a major transit bill. So we have fortified the team that we have internally with an external lobbying team as well. So thanks for that question, Nick. The fall election, we do see that as being something, I mean, just the fact of the matter is when you're talking about revenue and trying to come up with new revenue in an election year, let's just be real. We know that people are not gonna have a big appetite for that. However, one of the things that we're doing is we're collaborating with other service boards and the General Assembly leadership to kick around different revenue ideas, revenue projections. The other thing that we're also doing is asking, a lot of the CMAP and the part report talks a lot about governance. And so we are also looking at what are ways that we can be more creative for revenue generation? Because governance is one aspect of the act, but another aspect of the act is the funding model, which we believe is inequitable. And we've said that because we carry 80% of all of the transit interactions in the Northeast while only receiving about 50% of the operating dollars and 62% of the capital dollars. And that's after PACE's money is taken off. So when you think about us, and we get compared by a lot of people on this call to WMATA or to Boston or to MTA, well, they have very different, structures of funding than we do. So get rid of that. All right, so the point is rank and file voting. We're absolutely building relationships vote by vote. We don't have a choice. We're going to continue to meet with the leadership. We're there next week for a lot of activity with both the President Carter and the chairman. The state of the state budget address we are working on as well. And we're just looking to enlist all of our relationships, partially why we have you all, we're assembling you. So let me just look here. Okay, yeah. Is there anything you're doing on the federal level about the fiscal cliff? Not at this time, Caroline. Second, how are you recommending the state pay for the cliff? And are you asking for 1.5 billion of 700? I don't.
That's supposed to be or.
Or we are right now, Laura, the recommendation that part has, that's what we're going with. So whatever that number is in that document, which I believe is the 1.5 billion.
The higher
number.
Yeah, not the other number in the part study. We don't like that.
That's right.
The cut number. We like the 1.5.
Exactly. What new revenues are the CTA suggesting they use to address? Okay, what I will say is we are looking at being able to open the act to we have peers across the country that do different things on real estate. There's lots of other ways that other transit agencies around the country and the world are using to generate revenue. And so we are asking the General Assembly to give us that flexibility, because as of today, you're very limited in what our revenue streams are. So Tom, that's what we're thinking in terms of, we're gonna be looking and benchmarking other places. What new funding structures? I cannot say exactly what they are right now, Audrey, but we are looking at all of the options, and we're bringing all of those to Springfield with us on a regular basis. All right, so because we're running out of time, let me give it to Tom to talk about our harm reduction.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. there you go.
Two final topics here, one single slide here. So the first is, harm reduction initiatives, our outreach to vulnerable populations. So you may have seen at the end of last year, we renewed our contract with the Chicago Department of Family and Support Services for outreach to individuals experiencing homelessness on the blue and the red line. So this is basically a continuation of the pilot that initiated last year. Last year, we really didn't get kind of staffed up and rolling until the February, March timeframe. So we were glad to be able to renew it now and then go ahead and have sort of full coverage throughout the winter period. So we could really see the impact of these outreach services during the winter period as well. And then, as noted, with this renewal of the contract with DFSS and then their support of Haymarket and Thresholds, that we've added outreach on the Forest Park branch of the Blue Line. So now their outreach isn't just from Clark and Lake out to O'Hare, but it's from Clark and Lake going all the way out to Forest Park. So that's going to be sort of new information about sort of the encounters and sort of some of the barriers that they may be encountering with the homeless population that is present on that Forest Park branch as well. And then we've added some resources to the daytime team for Thresholds so that they can better connect folks to services. Because as you know, a lot of services are only available during daytime hours. And so a lot of what the work that happens in the evening is connecting with individuals, helping them out from immediate needs of a situation that they're in. But a lot of times it's connecting them then to that AM team and having a handoff to that AM team to get them directly connected to service providers that are open and available at that time. We've got a lot of folks who are on the system who are interested in shelter. That's one thing that we've learned through the pilot is that as they tap folks on the shoulder, as they engage with them, it does take multiple engagements. It's not a simple, hey, I'm going to talk to you and solve all your problems in one engagement. It's that building trust over time. As they do build that trust, they do find a lot of individuals who are interested in coming off the system. As you know, we live in an environment where we are constrained. And so that space, whether it be a shelter or supportive housing, is just not available. So we have more people that are interested in coming off the system than there actually is shelter and housing available to them. But we have opened up a bunch of opportunities. You know, in this last year, we housed nearly 50 people coming off of the system into more permanent supportive housing. So that's kind of where we are with that outreach. Let me see if I can address a couple of the questions. So the most recent one, yes, we're participating in the Safety Summit. We actually we got multiple outreaches, I think, over the last couple of days. We're interested in hearing from other transit agencies about their experiences, but we've been in dialogue with them for a couple of years now, in particular LA, Philadelphia, and New York, about some of their challenges. And a lot of it, there are some commonalities, as we've seen with some of the industry reports, and then there's some local issues as well that we all work with. And then a question around, going to start a pilot of the transit ambassadors this year. I think that's still sort of TBD. I don't think there's anything sort of said, hey, we're going to go ahead and do it this year, but I think it's still an ongoing discussion. A lot of it is kind of what we're learning through this pilot. A lot of it is what we're hearing from our customers, and then what we're seeing with some of our other investments around outreach. Okay.
Yeah, percentage of.
Oh, requesting versus receiving housing. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky to get a 1-for-1 on that one. It's certainly less than 50% on the shelter side, but we've got a lot more people interested in housing because we have a lot of individuals that are entering their information into the HMIS and into the coordinated entry system. So we've got several hundred people that have entered data into the coordinated entry system, which, as you know, is that pipeline to get into housing. And so they're still in that waiting line. I know we've also working with our outreach agencies. They've identified folks who need to, part of the barriers is getting documentation and getting prepared for CHA housing, but sometimes that's a process that can take 6 months. So somebody might shelter on the system for up to 6 months while they're waiting to get that information together. So you have a question about Narcan? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'll take the Narcan question. We are narrowing down. Is there an update on which stations? There's not an update on which stations, but we have made the site visits to the station that we're considering. And what I can say as an update is right now we have commitment from Cook County Public Health Department to fund the expansion of this. And we also have the vending machine commitments from a couple of community partners as well as the Chicago Department of Public Health. So we don't have an update on which stations, but we do have an update that there will be an expansion of at least 4, looking at 4 to 5 stations. So we'll keep you posted on that. Jackie Grimsaw says, why did you leave out the green?
So we focused on the red and the blue line because that's where we see the prevalence of the issue. So it's really more about what could we include, and we kind of followed the data from the point in time count and from some of the existing outreach that was on the system. And really, a lot of the folks who are sheltering on the system are sheltering on those 24/7 lines. We do have, we do encounter homeless individuals sheltering either directly on the trains or also at the stations, whether it's the green line, the brown line, right? Some of the other stations too. And we do work with DFSS to have sort of targeted engagements out at those stations. I do know there are a couple on the western branch of the green line that we have been focusing on with some of our outreach efforts in response to sort of noting that there are some shelters showing up at some of those stations as well. So the outreach is focused on red and blue because we're kind of following the population, but we do have ability to target outreach across the entire system.
And as far as the Narcan machines, we're looking at green line stations as well as blue line. So that we're not leaving them out as we expand some of the harm reduction around the drug, the substance support.
Okay, then the last item on the agenda was a quick update on our public dashboard, our public interactive dashboard. I know we're under sort of the legislation right now to provide some additional measures. We do provide a lot of them through our dashboard that we launched last year, but you'll be seeing an update coming out, should be on Thursday, that incorporates some of the additional requirements as part of that public act, including information such as absenteeism, vehicle miles driven, and some of the other measures that we didn't provide with that initial launch of the dashboard, but are included in the legislation. So you'll see some of that data coming out, and we will, you'll see that should be coming up on Thursday, and we're glad to be able to provide that additional level of transparency through that dashboard.
All right, I think we're at less than a minute. We will make sure we have a full hour the next time. And you can also join us on the board meeting tomorrow to hear a lot more.